Oh my Delta, there's more to THC. Most likely, you've already heard about Delta-9-tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, which exerts a high and euphoric effect on users. You've probably heard a bit about Delta-10-THC too, the molecular side player that you can synthesize from legal hemp from a less psychoactive effect. In today's article, we'll talk all things Delta-10-THC, why you need to know about it, and the ins and outs of its safety, legalization, and potential benefits. 1, 2, 3, yippee! What is Delta-10? Delta-10-THC is one of the 100 plus cannabinoids present in hemp and cannabis. Unlike Delta-9-THC, Delta-10-THC appears in trace amounts. It may take an exhaustive amount of time and plant material trying to extract it from natural strains. In fact, Delta-10-THC is so elusive, laboratories often misidentify the compound for cannabichromene, CBC, or cannabicyclol, CBL. Over the last 20 years or so, cannabis researchers have discovered many forms of THC, also known as THC isomers. The most well-known THC found in cannabis has been suggested to be Delta-9-THC. However, today, there are various isomers like Delta-8-THC and now Delta-10-THC. To put it in simpler terms, isomers are compounds that share an identical chemical formula but are arranged differently. This new structure usually comes with new pharmacological properties. The novelty perceptions have gotten cannabis users excited about trying these new versions of THC. Just like any new weed strain to emerge, there may be an alternative to the same old high, following suit with its own unique effects and benefits. Funny story, Delta-10-THC was actually discovered somewhat by total accident. It was found by Fusion Farms in California, when extracting THC distillate from a batch of cannabis that was contaminated with a fire retardant. Because of this, the THC formed these mysterious crystals that were originally misidentified as the cannabinoids mentioned above, CBC and CBL, and then later were properly identified as Delta-10-THC, after months and months of research. Fast forward to today, Delta-10 is made using a conversion process similar to the one used for producing Delta-8 concentrates. This is also the secret behind its clear appearance. How does Delta-10 affect the body? Delta-10 affects the body, assumingly, in similar ways to Delta-8's effects. While very little research has been done on its mechanism of action in the body, Delta-10-THC likely interacts with the endocannabinoid system, ECS, in a similar way as other THC compounds. For instance, Delta-9-THC and Delta-8-THC have binding affinities towards cannabinoid receptor 1, CB1, receptors in the brain and nervous system, which may produce varying levels of psychotropic effects. Delta-10 may interact similarly with CB1 receptors at high concentrations. Nonetheless, more clinical studies and randomized trials are needed to pin down the potential effects. What are the effects of Delta-10-THC? To date, we still do not know much about how Delta-10-THC affects the body per se, as researchers are still deep in the works of conducting studies investigating the physiological and psychological effects of this cannabinoid. However, we can assume that it, one way or another, interacts with our endocannabinoid system just as other cannabinoids do. Delta-8 and Delta-9-THC have an affinity to bind with CB1 receptors in our brains and nervous system, developing a psychotropic potency, which is how we end up with those psychotropic effects, or euphoria demeanors. Delta-10-THC could potentially do this, but to what extent and what dosage? That is still to remain evidenced. Is Delta-10 legal in the US? Delta-10-THC isn't legal or illegal, it's sort of an illegal gray area right now. Technically, it's considered legal if it has been derived from hemp, which contains 0.3% THC or less. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, all synthetically derived tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, remain Schedule I controlled substances. There is a lot of contention and conversation surrounding whether or not Delta-10-THC is a synthetic cannabinoid, based on the DEA's ambiguous, This could also potentially apply in helping Delta-8 and other THC isomers. With this being said, you may want to get your hands on some Delta-10-THC while you can, in case it becomes illegal, of some sort. The following states are where you cannot get Delta-10: Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Delaware, Idaho, Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, Rhode Island, Utah. Is it safe? Delta-10-THC has been suggested to be safe to consume. However, specific chemicals used in the extraction process may not be. Thus, this is why it's critical to only consume Delta products that have been in-house and third-party lab tested at an accredited laboratory to ensure safe consumption. Legitimate Delta-10 products, such as those tested at laboratories and other licensed facilities, will have a QR code showing consumers proof of testing analyses and certifications. The best thing you can do as a consumer are to look and ask companies for their quality of assurance, COA, documents and/or their third-party lab testing results. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.